October 14, 1964. Peace Laureate. The Norwegian Nobel Committee announced that Martin Luther King Jr. would be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. That declaration marked a global recognition of a struggle rooted in American soil. The committee stated that the prize was for his nonviolent struggle for civil rights for the Afro-American population. At just 35 years old, King became the youngest recipient ever to receive the Nobel Peace Prize at that time. His award came in the wake of a pivotal year in the civil rights movement, in which the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was enacted, prohibiting discrimination in public facilities and employment. The prize announcement on October 14 reflected the intersection between domestic struggle and international conscience, elevating the civil rights movement into the realm of global moral discourse. King's path to this honor traced back to his leadership in the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 and his embrace of nonviolent resistance inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. Over subsequent years, he led mass demonstrations, sit-ins, marches, and advocacy that sought to break the legal and social barriers of racial segregation. By 1963, he had spearheaded the March on Washington, where he delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech to more than 250,000 attendees, calling for racial equality and national unity. That march exerted moral and political pressure that helped pave the way for the passage of landmark legislation. The Nobel Committee's decision on October 14 signified that the struggle King represented was no longer a local or regional issue alone. It cast the fight against racial injustice in the United States as part of a universal challenge to human dignity and peace. The announcement gave the civil rights movement a form of diplomatic legitimacy. International observers interpreted it as an endorsement of nonviolent resistance as a viable means to achieve social change. King's response to the prize announcement was modest. He accepted that the honor belonged to all who had worked in the movement. In his autobiography, he later reflected that the prize was a testimony to the magnificent drama of the civil rights movement and the thousands of actors who had played their roles. He understood that the Nobel Prize did not mark a culmination, but rather a moment of responsibility. When King later traveled to Oslo in December to receive the award, he dedicated part of the prize money to civil rights organizations and shared funds among key groups such as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the NAACP, and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. In his acceptance speech, he emphasized that the force behind the movement was not only in the speeches or marches, but in the persistent sacrifice of ordinary citizens engaged in local campaigns. The historical significance of October 14, 1964, lies in how it framed the American civil rights movement in a new light. The announcement helped transfer moral authority to the movement, strengthened its international support base, and bolstered King's standing as a moral leader on the world stage. It anchored the idea that nonviolent resistance could confront institutionalized inequality without resorting to force. Moreover, that date serves as a marker. The civil rights struggle had gained enough momentum and moral clarity that the world beyond America's borders could no longer ignore it. In awarding the Nobel Peace Prize, the international community affirmed that the fight against racial oppression was not merely a national policy debate, but a universal endeavor in peace, justice, and human rights. For enthusiasts of historical ephemera, visit history-collectors.com to find collectibles that might complement your collection. You can own a piece of history.